You're listening to a Comics XF podcast.
X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we're reading every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I now pronounce you Zach.
Mazel tov. Zach, we're covering a story that I thought we surely had covered in the last 7 years. And yet, no, we've never talked about Cyclops and Jean Grey's wedding. It's crazy.
That's an interesting thing for us, because I tend to like Scott Summers. I know you like Scott Summers.
Sure.
I like Jean Grey. You like Jean Grey.
I do. You know, I'm on record as being a Cyclops and Emma shipper, but
hold on. You want to go on record of being any sort of shipper? Is that I'm going to give you a chance to recant and not make that official.
All right, let me rephrase. Preferring that particular couple, but at the same time, I mean, this is kind of like the core X-Men romance, right? It's gone from the Silver Age all the way through to the present. Even though right now Jean seems to be playing Silver Surfer in space for some reason. I don't understand it, but that's okay.
Jean's out there making references, or Jean's out there fighting Dan Jurgens Thor villains for some reason. Because we were all clamoring for more of the Jurgies. We all wanted it. And that's what we're getting, is more Dan Jurgens Thor and Jason Aaron Thor that Jean's doing. I don't know. I'm not reading that book. It seemed not the best Jean Grey book that has come out in the last 5 years.
No, not necessarily for me. So this is interesting because, you know, the wedding of these two characters was actually supposed to happen towards the end of Will Spartacio's run on X Factor, and that storyline turned into Endgame. So for, you know, readers who are curious, if you Google it, there is really fun like cover art that Whilst drew of them in, like, you know, wedding getup. It's not the Nicole Miller dress. We'll talk about that. But then you have
Nicole Miller thoughts.
I do. And yet you have like Apocalypse laughing in the background that he's about to like ruin the ceremony. So when that didn't happen, this storyline was kind of lingering for a while. And I don't know what, you know, really tipped the scales to say, hey, we finally got to do this.
Adam, do you not know what tips the scales? Because I can tell you what tipped the scales.
Please tell me.
It's the same thing that tipped the scales on a lot of things in this time period. It was the comics boom, the collector boom. So they needed a big anniversary thing. And then, oh, by the way, there was a moderately successful and popular animated series that was having Scott and Jean get married. In much like, you know, Superman, who also gets married around this time.
That is true. Mm-hmm.
His wedding is deeply tied to Dean Cain. This is deeply tied to, well, the animated series is having them get married. Let's do it. Which is the same thing. Spider-Man happened a bit before that, but that was more tied to, I believe, the newspaper comics, the Spider-Man wedding, which is a weird thing to be like timed to. But you're seeing a lot of big weddings at this time. You're seeing a lot of big characters being replaced by dark, gritty, venomy, edgier versions of them. You're seeing a lot of characters die or get mortally wounded. Like Batman gets his back broken, Wolverine loses adamantium, Superman dies. Like it's the 90s, and we're all trying to keep up.
Yeah, I mean, this was supposed to be another comics event along the lines of what you were just talking about. You know, I was reminded about this recently by our friend Chris Hassan from Adventures in Poor Taste, who, and then you found the page in Marvel Age that had another photo of it, but the Another Universe comic book store in Virginia actually staged a live wedding with cosplayers with Stan Lee officiating the ceremony. So
those are two separate weddings. Fun fact.
Are they really?
Yes. So in a issue of Marvel Age, what you learned is that for I think it was either the 94. Yeah, it was the 94 Marvel holiday party.
Oh, is that what that's from?
They had Stanley marry Jean and Scott at the holiday party. And hey, if you've read Marvel Comics: The Untold Story by Sean Howe, great book, you'll know that 1994, Marvel knew how to throw a party.
Well, that's because the money was actually
that
coming
was
in.
the money years.
Yeah. To my knowledge, there are some videos of another universe, things like animated series Batman coming to the shop and other things, but I have yet to find photos or video of the Jean and Scott wedding from another universe. So if anybody has something like that, just let me know. I would love to see it because it sounds like it would be a fun event.
I feel like Stan Lee pulled a similar stunt when Spider-Man and Mary Jane got married, and I feel like they did it at a baseball stadium for some reason. I want to say the Mets, love the Mets, go get a home run, love the Mets, yeah, Mets.
Okay.
But that could be me lying, or it could be the Yankees, or honestly, it could be a minor league team.
Who knows?
People don't realize that Stan Lee was a huckster at the time.
Oh, 100%.
He was just like, and he never stopped. He just got old, and other people started huckstering him, which was very sad. But
yeah, that part's not so great.
That part's less good.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. We're coming off the tail of Fatal Attractions with its hologram covers and on-card stock, and we're looking for that next big thing. And here it is. We've got basically, all of the major characters' teams from Mutant Genesis forward are here. It's part of the audience at this, at this event. And so let's just intro it. This is X-Men Volume 2, number 30, drawn by Andy Kubert and Matt Ryan doing inks. And it is written by a friend of the show, Fabian Nicieza.
My personal best friend, Fabian Nicieza. We haven't talked in years, but he knows. And by the way, folks, because we skipped all of that because we got distracted talking about other things as we are wont to do. This is a community pick'em.
Oh, right.
Our community on Patreon, we were like, hey, what do you want us to talk about? And one of them picked this wedding. And we were like, that's a great episode. We should do that. So that's what we did. We actually just started a new round of the community pick'ems over on Patreon. So if you want to join that Lethal Legion and make us talk about things that will make us laugh, you can go over to patreon.com/Battle of the Atom and reach down into your hearts and pocketbooks. Hey, $5. That's all you need. You can buy a bad Jean Grey comic for $5. Just saying. $5? $5 doesn't go as far as it used to, but it goes real far into our wallets. Right now, I don't have a bank account, so I would love $5. It's fine. I have money. It's all frozen. The weird thing. There was check fraud involved. It wasn't the weird Chase Bank thing that people did a bunch of check fraud. This was different simultaneous check fraud that only happened to me, which was not fun.
People listening to this 2 years from now are going to be like, what is he talking about?
Hey, a bunch of people tried to do check fraud once because they thought it was a hack. And it's not a hack. That's a crime.
Yeah. Life hack. Don't rob banks.
The bank always wins. It is.
Yeah.
It is a note. Also, just to be clear, yes, it was at the Met Stadium. They played the Pirates that day.
There
I
you
do
go.
not know who won. I'm trying to find the box score.
Before we go past the coins in our coffers thing, I did specify last week what the definition of coffer was, but I didn't realize why that person was tweeting that to me, which it turns out that for the episodes that I've been hosting, the script that I typed hastily into my iPhone actually made me say, because there's a typo in it, didn't say toss a couple coins in our coffers. I think I was actually saying very quickly, toss a couple coffers our way. But I was in such a hurry to say it that I didn't realize what I was saying. And I believe I've done this at least twice. So this is my official retraction and apology for talking really fast based on a note on my phone when I'm hosting the show. So time for X-Men 30.
It is. And just to round out all of our great discussions that we were having, the Mets did win that game 5-1. Bobby Manila did get one hit.
Cool.
So, maybe that money wasn't wasted.
I don't know. So
Barry Bonds had 5 at-bats and 5 strikeouts.
Wow. This is the Barry Bonds era.
Man, Barry.
So Zach, X-Men 30 comes out in 1994. I read this when it came out. This was one of those things that like I was like, hey, this is great. I want to know all about this. At what point in your X-Men reading history did you encounter this wedding?
So it was obviously in the DK's Ultimate X-Men Encyclopedia
Oh, of course.
as a thing. So
Yeah.
I was familiar with pictures and images from this wedding for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't think I read it until like my 20s or something. I had for the longest time, and I don't think I have it anymore. I think I gave it to someone or sold it. But I had a trade that was the X-Men wedding trade, which collected
Oh,
like the lead up stuff to this,
Yeah.
and then some of the other accoutrements that we're going to talk about in this episode.
so this particular, issue is about as schmaltzy and sentimental as as you can get, but it also kind of feels a little safe, very safe. Like y it makes sense for who the main characters are that are getting married, that it is this kind of like extremely traditional, I would say Protestant Christian wedding, with the very traditional wedding verses, and
Are you
there
telling me that Scott and Jean may be a little vanilla?
that's
Are you
exactly
telling
what
me
I'm
that Scott and
saying.
Jean may be a little uptight sometimes? Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
That is great. It gets their characters. However, I would argue that Scott and Jean aren't the main characters of this particular issue of X-Men 30. This is kind of a Charles Xavier story.
Well, that is what is interesting to me upon going back and rereading, is that it is Charles who is the narrator of this tale, even though I guess he's sort of like playing omniscient narrator, as he's
He
psychically
is.
spying on everybody as they're getting ready for the wedding. So we
To
do
be fair, he's
see,
helping out with
sure,
some of the getting ready.
sure,
Like,
but he's
about to enter the room. He's just like, I want to see what's going on first.
he's not helping with the ladies, and yet the opening scene is Jean getting her dress on, reading this very corny letter from Logan about how Scott and her go together like a, what is it, a tornado and wind or something. It's like, okay, Logan, don't quit your day job.
He's a warrior poet.
Yeah.
Listen, he really had to hold back on expressing himself in the art form of haiku.
We then get Charles does appear, as there is a huge struggle to try and tie Cyclops' bow tie, which
Delightful, great, insane that Warren didn't know how to do it.
really strange that any of them really didn't, because
I believe that Bobby doesn't know how to tie a bow tie. I believe that Hank doesn't know how to tie a bow tie.
Hank, I get, he's got like beast claws.
He's got weird hands. He's like,
what is he doing?
I was a football player, and I was a smart football player, but I didn't wear a lot of bow ties. Scott not wearing a bow tie, Scott doesn't strike me as a bow tie person.
It's an interesting choice, though, to pair the tux with a bow tie as opposed to a necktie, but
I don't know what fashion trends were in 1994, but I feel like that's not uncommon for a very formal wedding.
No, it's not uncommon at all. And this does strike me as a fairly formal, occasion. Everybody is dressed in black tie or in some form of formal wear. And it's kind of funny, because you're looking out onto this audience and seeing the cast of X-Force and X Factor and Excalibur and
Artie and Leech sitting in the front row, being so excited for their parents. It's great.
Yeah.
Cable looks grossly out of place.
Cable is really funny. He only has like two brief scenes in here. One is in which he remarks to Val Cooper that you didn't see me here, and Val Cooper's like, no, I didn't. And then the second one, there's an interesting scene in the beginning of this where Rachel and Jean have a moment, and Rachel even goes so far as to call Jean mom, which in retrospect seems really interesting, because I don't feel like that ever really developed past that.
I don't think it developed past that, though. Most of that's due to what happens with Rachel very soon after this in Excalibur, where she gets lost in the time stream.
Yeah.
However, if you remember back to Fatal Attractions,
Mhm.
they're like her and Jean come to terms with their relationship there, at least start to build that. So this is playing off of what Lobdell was doing in that story, which I think works really well. Like it's a nice touching scene.
It
Uh,
is. It is. And there's that great little moment at the end where Rachel and Cable are both looking up at, their parents essentially, in their bliss. So, there is this nice sort of extended family thing that's going on here, which is nice. Um,
it's weird. It is weird seeing a group shot of the X-Men and walking through and be like, wow, that really was everybody in 1994.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't every mutant, but it was every X-Men character that did not currently have a plot-related reason why they could not attend this wedding.
Which begs a certain question here. And this is something I just don't understand, is that there is this moment, and I want to come back to the first dance song for a moment,
Yep.
in a second. But there's this moment where Xavier, first of all, has to come out of his hover chair into a regular wheelchair because God forbid anyone see him in Shi'ar technology. And then later,
wait,
he is
no, that doesn't make sense. Now that I say that out loud, that doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense because
like,
he's appeared.
At minimum, there are other weirder things at this wedding.
Yes. He also then is freaked out when Jean pulls him telekinetically out of that chair and dances with him. And he's like, oh, you're using your powers. And it's like, look around. Who is at this wedding that doesn't realize they're at the X Mansion surrounded by mutants? It's very confusing.
The minister, maybe.
Maybe, I guess. It's not like the Jean Grey family is like confused.
No, the Greys are deeply aware that their daughter has some challenges.
Yeah.
Scott's family's chill. I mean, like Corsair's not there. I
love that Corsair does not show up. He's like, oh, I got a call from deep space. Dad says hello. And it's like, of course he didn't show up.
I have to go back and see. That might be plot related with some of the what was it?
What, Spotlight?
Maximum Operation Galactic Storm was right around that time.
Oh,
so
okay.
They might have been, again, this is very tight continuity Marvel stuff because like Danny Moonstar's not at the wedding because she's undercover right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's that level of every character is here except for the ones that we can't justify being here because we have other plots going on.
Yeah. Well, it is the two that I think is a little bit weird is that Trish Tilby and Opal Tanaka are both not there, and it's remarked upon by their who should be their dates. So that's a weird one. But
it is though. Is Stevie there?
No,
Stevie Hunter's not there.
I don't think so. If she is, I didn't notice her.
No, not Stevie. Who was I thinking? I'm thinking of.
Oh no, Stevie Hunter is listed on the wiki. So
Stevie's there.
Yeah. Also, Sabretooth got out of the danger room somehow and is like, oh, I'm going to go mess this up. And Wolverine's like peeing in the snow. Like, don't you dare.
That part's fun because it's doing the superhero wedding. Let's crash it kind of gag. And it is, I do think that if you are going to wrap up the love triangle this way, and I also generally feel like it was never really much of a love triangle until the movies really emphasized it.
Yeah, I mean it was there, but it wasn't.
It was always
in
there.
Your face.
I don't think no one was ever expecting. I wasn't alive in the 80s, but I can't imagine that people were expecting Jean to end up with anyone but Scott. Like
No.
Logan was a roadblock, not the be all end all. Despite what Claremont might think, though, I also get the feeling that Claremont he is so opposed to Scott and Jean being together, just based on he's still mad about the Madeline Pryor stuff today. I think he's just so opposed to it that he's like, yeah, she loves Wolverine now. That's her option. I feel like that might have been what happened with Chris.
I don't know. It's not up to him. I do want to circle back to this choice of the wedding song being U2's One, which it's so funny to me.
You think that U2 is not the most Scott Summers band?
Well, that it is very in character, right? It is really, really in character. That
was
Scott
it in character in 1994 for U2 to be Scott Summers' band? Because I feel like it took until like the early 2000s for U2 to really turn around in like people's opinion on them. Maybe a Chung Baby was like driving that, but I don't know. I'm trying to
No,
think.
that U2 was very much still a cool band at this point
Yeah.
in the 90s. You know,
Which
they
is
had-
why I think it's a weird choice. Them being the band now.
but they were still, even at that point, they were the kind of band that you knew that like every basic music lover liked U2. You know what I mean? And this is
Well,
only
yeah,
aged.
but have you heard Joshua Tree? It's really good.
Oh, I'm not saying that the early stuff isn't good. I'm not saying that at all. It's just
Where do you cut off their early stuff? Now I'm curious. Because I think the answer is Joshua Tree.
that is your cutoff point. Is Joshua Tree?
I think Joshua Tree is it's the pivot point for the band, but I would call it like the last of their early stuff because I feel like things do get more commercial.
Yeah, well, you're
after
getting
Joshua
into the Brian Eno era here at this point, right? Where he's doing production, but Achtung Baby is like a huge commercial success. So
exactly,
it makes sense that they would pick this song. It was a huge radio hit at the time, but it's one of those things that like, especially because of I don't want to say that U2 is a joke, right? They are like rock legends, but they
again love Joshua Tree. Boy, October War, those are great albums. I had the Live at Red Rocks audio cassette in my 1994 Pontiac Grand Prix all through high school.
But if someone would tell you that U2 is like their favorite band, and that's what they like the most out of all music, it would seem kind of like a surface level basic choice, correct?
U2 falls into the same category as like Coldplay or
right.
your Imagine Dragons of these days.
Okay, that was pretty mean.
Am I wrong? Like that's the progression of
that's
that
what they've
band,
become, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Like, which I hate because, like, again, U2 was probably more talented than either of those other bands.
Yeah, of course. I will say what's interesting about the choice also is that it's not them just hitting play on U2. It's Lila Cheney singing one. She just announces that's their song. So yeah. I think that's an interesting spin on it, is that it's not just them like hitting, play on the record. Do you like this issue?
I do.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. I don't think that X-Men needs to be comfort food 100% of the time. In fact, I would prefer the ratio to be like doing something new and bold and fun and exciting most of the time. And then, hey, this is a big special wedding issue. We're going to like crawl up our own rear end here for just a second. But it's nice and warm up there. Like, I get the appeal. It's not forever. But you do that every once in a while, and then you jump into, wild Kanon stories immediately after that. Okay, I can dig that.
I think it's really a great kind of emotional beat for the moment, for the time. I think it's handled really well. Is Kubert the most touchy-feely artist to be handling this issue? I don't know. But at the same time,
probably shouldn't be drawing it, but it does feel so 90s.
But it just has become classic, I think, over the years. So why don't we try and rank this on our big old list, Zach?
Well, that's the thing about our big old list, Adam, is that we have been ranking every X-Men story from best to worst of all time, with the number 1 story being the House of X Powers of 10, number 300 being Power Pack 20, the Mini Inferno, number 600 being Avengers 102 to 104, the Sentinels are alive and well. Number 900 is Wolverine and the X-Men Tomorrow Never Learns, and 2099 World of Tomorrow, it's the worst X-Men story, all the way at 948. Adam,
yeah,
number 200 on this list, and I gotta say, I'm confused about why it's there. I'm not that confused. We love this particular creative team, even with its flaws. Is The Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier, a story that Brian Michael Bendis definitely walked around actually talking about on my podcast, our podcast.
Yes.
I just asked him that one, and he decided to be a gentleman. And I appreciate that about Brian, but I feel like he's a liar. Anyway, I think this story is better than that.
I do too. I think this is probably a top 200 story. I would put this ahead of Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix at 184.
Yes, but not above Further Adventures, which is a good chunk higher on this list.
Further is at, where is Further? Goodness.
We had to. We've talked about Further Adventures of Cyclops.
We have,
on
but
this
I
podcast,
just,
right?
I'm not sure where Further is. It's,
Hey, have we not talked about Further Adventures of
no,
Cyclops?
we
and
have.
Phoenix?
It's up at 120. It's up at 120.
Okay, yeah. So it's between those two.
I don't think this is as good as Executioner's Song at 122.
Oh, I don't either. I don't think this is. Ooh, this is a good comparison.
What's that?
How do you feel about it compared to X Factor 27 Gifts?
I think this is. I do love X Factor 27. It's a great Christmas issue, but I think this is better than that.
Is it? Oh, I can tell you what it's not better than. And that's the Charles Xavier Amelia Vogt issue of Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah,
That's at 148 right now. It is not better than that.
no, but I do think it's better than the giant size X-Men issues at 150. Is it better than the Jerry Duggan Forge in the Vault stuff at 149?
Yeah, it is.
All right, so this is going to be our
It
new
is.
149 X-Men Volume 2, number 30, The Wedding of Scott Summers and Jean Grey. And of course, because this is an event, Marvel was not content to just leave this alone as just one issue. So I don't know if I mentioned this before, but comics retailers, I'm holding this up. You can't see this at home, folks, but I am holding up the wedding invitation / program that went out to local comic stores.
You have that?
Oh,
Why
yeah.
aren't we ranking that?
Well, because it's nothing. Here, let me open it up so you can
Adam,
see
why are we not ranking that immediately?
because it's not a comic book. It's literally just the cover.
Okay.
So two-fold cover, and then on the inside, it's basically the program of the ceremony. That's it.
Is there anything good in the program? Any fun little jokes that they put in there?
Well, it does say, what the scripture readings are. It does.
What are the scripture readings at Scott Summers' wedding?
Well, I think they mentioned some of them in the issue, but it is Psalms. What is this? 127 verse 1, Luke 11:17, and Philippians 2, 1-4. I think these are pretty standard things. And then there's one more at the end of the program, which is Philippians 2, 3-4. I can scan this, if anybody wants to see
I
it.
would, Adam. You don't need to scan. Take a picture on your phone and send it to me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I just want to know what Scott Summers' thoughts on the Bible are.
Yeah, what Fabian Nicieza thought was good for a wedding ceremony. in
Hey!
1994.
There's no one Rinthies in there.
No, that's true.
They're not dropping that one Rinthies 13.
But what they also put out is an oversized magazine called X-Men: The Wedding Album, which is this isn't Fabes though, right? This is Lobdell,
Scotty Lobbs. Yeah, Scott
and
Lobdell writes this one with Ian Churchill.
Ian Churchill, and then there is a slew of artists that help out with the back half of this that are supposed to be like snapshots, and that includes, hold on a sec, Ken Lashley, Tom Lyle, Ron Garney, and Jay Lee, with inks by Scott Hanna, Andrew Papoy, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Jay Lee. So,
yeah, hey, the one that Bill Sienkiewicz and Jay Lee do does not fit with the rest of it.
well, there is this one that's just Jay Lee, that's Banshee singing and Beast playing the saxophone. But I will say,
saxophone looks wild.
the last page, which is a Bill Sienkiewicz. I don't know why I'm holding this up. I know our listeners can't see this.
Because I'm enjoying this conversation with my friend Adam.
Yeah.
And I love the visual aids that he's providing.
This Bill
audio
Sienkiewicz picture of them just about to kiss is absolutely gorgeous. This is a weird publication because it's a Jubilee story about her reading Jean Grey's diary while she's kind of futzing over whether I guess Jean Grey is downstairs meeting with actual real wedding dress designer Nicole Miller.
Who she met at college, apparently.
And so Jubilee...
Which time that she went to college do you think that she met Nicole Miller? Was it... It must have been in the Silver Age, right?
I guess.
'Cause I guess she wasn't going to school when she was living with Misty.
Yeah. But there is a 2-page spread. The center... Is this the centerfold? It's not quite the centerfold.
When did Jean Grey go to Rhode Island School of Design?
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't think that's true at all.
That doesn't make any sense. But the Nicole Miller's drawing for the dress that does appear in this and in X-Men 30 is here. And, it's an interesting design. It has this sort of like hood shawl to it and this crisscross pattern across the front of it.
I kind of love it. I kind of love it. I love the hood.
Yeah. Well, it also gives that really great train effect of both the veil and the bottom of the dress that's on the cover of X-Men 30.
And it's a superhero thing. That's the thing. She's like, I'm going to make a superhero wedding dress. And like, as a professional designer, she understood what to do. It is not something that you would wear to a Hellfire Gala because this is a more understated gown than that.
Yeah.
Because you already know all the attention's on you. You don't have to drag the eye to it. But I think it's a great look. It feels pretty 90s.
It sure does. And I do want to just point out that the pattern on the front, whether it's intentional or not, they're all little X's.
That was 100%. I always see them as diamonds, but no, that was 100%. She put a bunch of X's on there.
Yeah.
Great.
So anyway, Jubilee reads
Great
Jean
gowns.
Grey's diary, and it's basically a recap of a variety of different scenes from Jean's life. Some interesting choices.
I don't know why we're recapping Jean's life for this, but it's fine.
What I like the idea of sort of Jubilee, interacting with Jean in this way. The way it's put on the page is odd though, because it's Jubilee up in the top left of each page, sitting on the panel of the recap image, but then in a font, it's Jean Grey's like little message of the day, and it's just a pretty bland summary of things that happened to her. And then later, when Jubilee confesses to reading this, Jean is like, "This is my most innermost feelings. How dare you?" And it's like, wait a minute. These are pretty simple, like summaries.
No, here's the thing though. Those are exactly Jean's most innermost feelings. I love her so much. She was a Stan Lee woman.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
I love the attempt that they make of making this feel like a higher production value magazine.
Yeah.
But also, oh my gosh, did no one know about like not just basics of graphic design, but reading?
Yeah.
And just looking at, did you look at it for 1 second before you decided, let's make 3/4 of the first letter of every word a different color?
It's very 90s. It's funny how the font overlaps the image so that it does that color change, and it is very ugly and illegible.
Horrible.
Yeah.
You cannot read it.
Yeah. I appreciate the effort though, because this is pretty much the same format, size, glossy paper as what we saw at the time. They were doing a lot of this stuff with the swimsuit specials every year. And you were also getting the Marvel Year in Review magazines, which are kind of like Marvel AG type parody things in the style of Life magazine. And I don't know, like I appreciate that there's stuff like this that's a little bit weird and has a variety of different artists working on it. It's a really cool artifact. Does it work as like a story? I don't know.
I mean, not really. I had to Google one of the Marvel Year in Reviews. And on the cover of the 1991 Year in Review, I'm sorry, but it does say also inside, look out below, Donald Trump. The Kingpin's corporation is crumbling too. Boom, got him. Shots fired in 1991 at Donald J. Trump.
Zach, have you ever read any of those Year in Reviews?
Honestly, I don't think I have.
I think you would get a kick out of them because...
You think I'd get a kick out of an early 90s Marvel artifact?
Let me tell you, they have aged very poorly in terms of some of their humor, and going back and reading these things and going like, oh my God, like what? Marvel was putting this out? Like this is an actual thing that got to print. It's really
Adam,
funny.
I've read a lot of Marvel humor publications in
mhm.
my time. Your Fooms, your What Does. I believe it.
I think you would enjoy some of it. It's
Oh, absolutely. I haven't read this. I have read the SEC filings that they did, where they did them as comic books. Absolutely read the heck out of those. Those are delightful.
yeah, those are fun. Those are fun. So I think this is good in terms of like a little like time capsule, but it certainly doesn't work as a standalone issue like X-Men 30 did.
And it's too big to fit into a standard long box.
Also true. Also true. You do kind of have to have like, you know, I keep all of my stuff like this size in a sideways short box.
I don't have enough of it to fill up a box, so it just like fills the edges of. It's a pain. I
Yeah.
don't care for magazine size comics because that's not my world anymore.
That's okay.
Uh,
I think for folks who are willing to like have a variety of different formats, this is a cool thing. Not unlike
yeah, pick it up at a con. It's
yeah.
fun.
What I would compare this to the most is the Guide to the X Mansion.
Is this better? This is better than the Guide to the X Mansion because this has a narrative.
Yeah, I mean, the Survival Guide to the Mansion is all the way down at 832. And really, I mean, if we're being honest, the most fun thing about this Survival Guide to the Mansion is that it's a spiral bound thing that says Survival Guide to the Mansion. This actually has a sweet story in it.
Ooh, I didn't actually consult the Survival Guide because I recorded my HVAC conversation while I was on the road. I should dig out my Survival Guide and see if it has a mechanical schedule on it.
Oh, I bet it doesn't.
I bet it doesn't. I would absolutely try and size a unit for it, though, just for fun.
I'm trying to think of how low I would go here because
is this better or worse than X-Men versus the Brood at 691?
It's about the same, I would say. So I think we're in the right place on the list. I think it's probably, I don't know. There's just not a lot here.
There's not a lot. I don't. This is better than the X Factor She-Hulk Secret Invasion story, though. That's at 698.
Yeah, I'd say we're on par with like it's 696, the Family Ties unpublished inventory issue.
This isn't as good as the time that North Star came out of the closet by punching a man while yelling, "I'm gay."
Yeah. All right. So this should be our new 696.
Yeah, right below that North Star issue.
Nice.
Is X-Men the Wedding Album. But what if, Adam?
Well, I mean, what if a particular writer by the name of Kurt Busiek just had some other ideas of what could have happened at this wedding?
Before we jump into that, what if next year for Marvel's Pride special, they just recreate that cover or that shot of North Star flying at the camera punching saying, "I'm gay"? I think that would be a hoot, and that would do more to engender Marvel Comics to the queer community than anything they've ever done in the past ever. If they just embrace the fact that you have North Star flying at the camera insanely yelling, "I'm gay."
Why not? Just, go for it.
Scott Lobdell meant so well on that issue. And everyone at Marvel paid the price for it, but absolutely a price worth paying.
Yeah. All right, so our next story is What If X-Men Wedding Album, which is What If Volume 2, number 60. This is written by Kurt Busiek and penciled by Ron Randall with inks by Art Nichols, colors by Bob Sharon. Yeah, I mean, the Watcher seems very concerned about what Jean's options might have been,
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to have a what if story that is explicitly coming out like as the wedding is coming out. Like it gets released the next month.
I get it because it's trying to kind of, be part of the zeitgeist of this event that's happening. It's also just kind of funny because that Kurt Busiek nerds out over this stuff and wants an opportunity to kind of like delve into these Silver Age and early Claremont moments. And
like, you mean how he ties into the Silver Age specifically calling back to a one issue job that Scott Summers had?
Yeah, because all right, so let's just list what the options are here. So the first option is what if Scott and Jean had married earlier? Then there's what if they had never fallen in love at all because Jean falls in love with
Angel.
Warren. And then the last one is what if Phoenix had fallen for Wolverine? So you're mentioning in this first story that Scott is now a radio broadcaster. Okay.
Which, again, one time in the Silver Age did happen.
Yeah.
Kurt Busiek does do the thing that everyone does about the Silver Age, where they act like Cyclops and Polaris were full-fledged team members in the Silver Age and not a couple of weirdos that hung out with them.
It's true. I do appreciate that once Jean and Scott leave, the rest of the X-Men are like, yeah, we're done. We're good. Bye.
They're like, honestly, it sounds good not to be a child soldier anymore. And I can appreciate that about them. What is beautiful is that again, because it's Kurt Busiek, he knows that they've got to recruit a new team. So the new team is North Star, Aurora, Colossus, Aurora, and Cat's Eye.
Cat's Eye. Oh boy. Oh
Kurt
boy.
Busiek pulling in Cat's Eye for this. And then, oh no, they get captured by Krakoa. Oh no, the Avengers have to stop Krakoa. Oh no, a lot of people are dead. And Scott and Jean feel really guilty about it.
Yeah, it's so funny. They're like over Charles Xavier's grave and they're like, gosh, is this our fault? It's like, what if we hadn't? What if we had not done what the title of this story suggests? And it's like, okay, who cares? Like,
it does the what if thing where what if and then
Everybody
everything bad
dies.
happens.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do in a what if, because you have to make sure the reader understands the best story is the one they're reading. Like, if your what if becomes better than the real story, then it begs the question, why am I reading the real story? The real story sucks.
The second one is my favorite because what happens in the second one is essentially Scott becomes radicalized because Jean falls in love with Warren and Scott is so pissed off at like Professor X for lying to them about like faking his death and doing all this other stuff. Which is very funny and should have been the reaction.
Bringing up some real valid points here.
Yeah, that's why it's great. And so he ends up joining the Brotherhood. I think this is really funny.
I think it's funny that he's mad at Professor Xavier. I don't like Incel Scott becoming a terrorist because that's what happens in this.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
It's like they felt like they needed 3 stories and they shoehorned this one in. They were like, well, who else could Jean be married? I guess Warren and her flirted a little bit for a while.
Yeah, I just think there's some really funny moments in this one, you know, where Chuck has to create, you know, he's like, oh, I'm picking a new leader for the team and it's going to be Hank. And Scott's like, wait, what? No, it's got to be me. It's got to be me. And he's like, no, you're too distracted and like alone in your room all the time.
Don't be weird, Scott. The third one is where I think Ron Randall goes absolutely buck wild. Adam, I'm looking at this right now.
Yeah.
On my cellular device.
Yep.
There's a shot of Jean, you know, Phoenix raptoring Emma that has her butt like straight at the reader and her entire spine curved around and turned so you can get a double-breasted action as well. It is...
There are some boobular looks in there. I mean, just take a look at the first panel of Logan embracing Phoenix. And, you know, the artist is very clear about getting all of these assets in the picture. You know what I mean? He's not messing around.
Including a absolutely insane Dark Phoenix where she looks like she is a big muscle lady.
Yeah.
Adam, I'm going to ask you this because I don't know if you'll know this.
I don't know.
Are you familiar with Action League Now?
I don't know what that is. No.
Action League Now was a series of stop motion shorts that aired as part of both All That and Kablam on Nickelodeon.
Oh, I do know what that is. Yeah. They were like little action figure dudes. They were claymation.
Yes. There was a mix of it, but they were mostly action figures. There was the Flesh, who was super strong and super naked.
I remember this.
Stinky Diver, a former Navy commando with an attitude as bad as his owner. And Melt Man with the power to melt! Anyway, there's a girl, and her name is Thunder Girl, and she flies like thunder.
I do remember this.
But she is a different scale action figure than everyone else, so she just looks like giant and jacked compared to the naked He-Man action figure that they're also using. And that's what Dark Phoenix looks like in this book. It is insane how he draws her.
It's pretty funny. I mean, what is also interesting is that there's clearly some Jim Lee swipes in this issue, but they're only of torsos, which I think is really funny. Like, he basically traced like the chest down to the like tops of the legs and then stopped. He was like, I got the rest.
I got the rest.
You know, so
none of these parts connect to each other.
Yeah, even Lalandra is like, it really feels like a, you know, like a Jim Lee swipe with the thing
about What If is that they weren't sending us their best artists.
No. And of course, because it's a What If story, the ending of this third story is, of course, that the Phoenix just basically destroys the entire universe.
Yeah, it is really What If.
Yeah.
It's a massive What If. And you know what? It ends with Cyclops and Jean getting rice thrown at them and saying, actually, this was the best universe. We're all good.
Yeah, it does have a sweet ending. I do appreciate that the Watcher is so invested in this relationship that he felt the need to tell us this alternate timeline madness. But I don't know. I mean, we've done a few What If stories over the years, and this one is not one of my favorites.
I mean, is it good? No. Is it related to the wedding? Yes. That's it. That's all.
Yes. I don't think, all right, it's not nearly as bad as What If Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires, that is drawn during Inferno, which is done
during Inferno. It's so important that we separate those two things.
Done by with absolutely horrific, terrible art by Mark Pacella at 930. We have What If Astonishing X-Men at 870. I think this is better than that.
It's better than What If Astonishing X-Men, yes.
I think it's probably better than these two as well. At 857, we have What If Wolverine Enemy of the State, and at 859, What If X-Men Lost Inferno.
Yes.
But I don't think it's as good as at 669, What If Cable Killed the X-Men and Magneto Took Over the USA. Because I think that's a lot better.
Right. You're spot on. So what's between those two?
Well, we're in the low 600s now. Is the Wedding album is at 696. Is this better than the Wedding album?
Oh, no, it's not. We should have just started there.
Yeah. All right. So we're probably in the 700s then.
This is worse than Mechanics.
Yes, it is.
At 724. Man, that's a weird one. Is this better or worse than GLX Special Number 1? And note, the GLX Special Number 1 does have all the great Squirrel Girl parts in it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even think this is as good as the Trial of Juggernaut at 748, which is right below this.
I mean, you're probably right.
I want to say this is better than Apocalypse versus Dracula at 754.
Is it?
But honestly, no, I'm looking at 760 and that's
kind of not, right?
Yeah, 760 is Beauty and the Beast, which is really weird. But interesting.
It's not better than Wisdom Max at 784.
No, we just keep working our way down. Okay.
I would say Kings of Pain is better.
I know you would.
It's just got those Mike Mignola covers.
This does not have a Mike Mignola cover. Okay, so now we know we're in between 793 and 857. Gosh, I just keep working my way down.
Like,
this isn't as bad as X-Men Noir.
Okay.
Like,
is this better than the story about Wolverine's secret daughter with diamond magic claws?
Yeah, I enjoyed this better than that.
Okay. I mean, you're not wrong.
It's not as good as Time Storm.
Oh, you mean 2009 to 2099 X-Men?
Yes.
Yeah. I would give the edge. I would give the edge to the all-new X-Men Volume 2, 1-3, The Ghost of Cyclops, though, which is weird that I've thought about The Ghost of Cyclops twice in 1 week.
All right, so this can be our new 813. What If number 60, the X-Men wedding album.
And that's it. We're married.
Congratulations.
Great. I've only performed like 3 or 4 weddings in my life, so
Wow.
this is
I didn't know you were ordained. That's good. Congratulations.
We've been friends for a while. Did you not know this?
I did not know that.
I
That's
feel like it would have at least come up during COVID. Yeah, no, I am only. I think I'm only registered in the state of Ohio, but I could get registered.
I'm
anywhere.
sure.
It's like a
I'm
$30
sure you could.
form.
I'd be surprised.
I just haven't had to marry anyone outside of Ohio.
Okay. Well, Scott and Jean don't need your services. They're married. So I think we did a good job, and I think we need to thank our Patreon community for picking this theme. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, folks, if you want to be like our patrons on Patreon, you can go over to patreon.com/bowtheatom, hearts, pocketbooks, coffers, coins, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love how the bit evolves over time because, like, unlike you, I don't have a script for this. It's just the words that I remember, and I just make it up.
It's all
when
key
I
phrases.
laugh about it.
Yeah.
It's everything, all that SEO. It's all about SEO, buddy, and we're getting great SEO. You know how all those AI apps are transcribing all of our words for this?
Oh,
Now
boy.
we're dropping those key words. We are dropping. I don't know what a hot keyword is right now. Brat? Is it Brat? Is Brat what the kids are doing still?
Brat is over.
We're not doing Brat anymore?
Well, when Pitchfork did a great bit, if you get a chance to read it, about when Brat ends, and it was fun.
Does it end immediately when they say Kamala is Brat?
Yeah, because then it kind of like anyway.
Yeah,
but Charlie XCX was still on the. First of all, I'm going to vote for Kamala. But
yes.
Just to be clear,
our politics are not on trial here, Adam.
But Charlie XCX was on the cover of New York Magazine looking very stunning. So I don't think her moment is over, but I think calling things brat is over. When you start seeing it on CNN, it's the joke is over.
It is definitely over. I could not point Charlie XCX out of a lineup.
Oh, that's a shame. But
anyway.
I
know one pop star these days, and it's Chappell Roan, and I get to be the guy who is like, no, I was listening to that freaking stuff a year ago. Where were you?
And all Chappell Roan wants is for everyone just to leave her alone.
I don't even think that. I think she just wants you not to be a weirdo.
Yeah, don't bother her mom.
Don't be weird.
Yeah,
people.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on in life anymore. Adam, what's going on in your life anymore? What do you got? What do you want to tell the folks about?
So, folks, I just want to talk about a couple of things. One is I do want to give a quick shout out to a Kickstarter that is going on from Rosie G. It is called Fallen Through the 90s, and they are the most adorable X-Men enamel pins. If you've never seen Rosie's enamel pins before, they're just fantastic. And this is really great. It's already fully funded, so just go on Kickstarter, get the pins. You will love them. I've been doing a couple of things for Comics XF, including some quick paragraph reviews. I have something coming out about a couple that visited the Airbnb X mansion, so that should be out within the next week or so. And I think that's it. So folks can always follow on socials, Adam Reck on Blue Sky and Instagram, and Arthur Stacy on Twitter. And that's about it. Zach, what are we doing next week?
Oh, you don't want to ask me what I'm plugging? You don't want to ask me what I'm doing?
You don't like me to ask you that question.
That's true. But just so you know, Adam, all that I'm doing is I just finished a Murakami book earlier today.
Oh, nice. Which one?
1Q84. Too long.
Don't like that one. Way too long and very repetitious.
It has a lot of repetition to it. He's never going to beat the rights about women like he's a man allegations.
No.
There's a lot of talk about breasts.
That one does not work for me. I don't like that book. And I'm a big fan of a lot of his other stuff. But that's really where he turned a corner for me. And I've not really connected with a lot since. Everything before that. I like a lot
of pieces of that book. It's obviously very well crafted in terms of some of the word choice. And I say Murakami, but also his translator when bringing it to English. However, too long.
Way too long.
And unfortunately hits its climax about 45% of the way through the book.
Yep. And then you got the rest of the book. Yeah. Okay.
Then it's a bunch of people sitting around waiting to find each other. It's like, there was more interesting stuff happening earlier. Anyway, that's what I've got going on. I figured you specifically would appreciate that.
Yeah, I would, because I'm a fan of you and of
I'm
Murakami.
a fan of you and Murakami as well. Hey, Adam, next week we're going to talk about something else we're a fan of.
Which is
Chris Picciolo.
Oh, great. Love that guy. So we've got some stories that were drawn by him, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we do. We got some stories. He drew them. It'll be fun. We haven't talked about some of these.
Sounds good.
But until then, folks, this has been Battle of the Autumn. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!